Hello! So today I want to walk you through how I made a super easy floor length split front skirt with an adjustable waistband. I made this specifically for a Ravenna cosplay that I am currently working on, but you could use this for really any type of fantasy or medieval-ish inspired design. It's not historically accurate in any sort of sense, but it looks really great on, and it gives a lot of drama whenever you layer it on top of other things. So if you like tutorials like this or cosplay walkthroughs or behind the scenes type of things when it comes to competitive cosplay, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. And of course, as always, if you have any questions about this build or cosplay in general or competing, make sure to drop a comment down below. So with that, let's get on into it. So starting with the waistband, it's super easy to make. You just take a strip of fabric that's about 5 inches wide and the length of your waist measurement plus maybe a couple of inches depending on if you want to overlap the whatever fastener you choose. Then you're going to fold in the raw edges about 1/4 of an inch and iron that flat, and then fold the entire length in half and iron that flat. This creates the strip that will be the waistband that will sandwich the raw edges of the skirt fabric. So next I took the waistband and wrapped it around my waist so that I could determine where the split front should start and stop. So I put a pin where I thought that the one side of the split should be, and I put a pin on the other side where I thought it should end, leaving the front part open a few inches. So taking it to the mannequin, I wanted to get a better visual off of myself to make sure that the split is as wide as I want it to be in the front. Once I've determined that I'm happy with the width of the split in the front, I'm going to take the sheer fabric I have for the skirt and cut it down to size. So typically you're going to need about 3 times the width of fabric to gather down into the waistband. So you take the waistband measurement and times that by 3, and that should give you enough to gather down on the machine and fit it perfectly within the waistband. To gather on the machine, it's super easy. All you need to do is adjust your stitch width to the longest stitch you have, which is typically about 5 millimeters, and then adjust the tension as high as it can go, which is typically 9. If you have a gathering foot, which I do here, it's super helpful to keep the gathers even, but you can do this with a normal straight stitch foot. With these settings, you just may need to adjust the gathers along the way to make sure that they're even. So you can see I'm getting this really nice gather behind the foot. Next is to take the gathered skirt and make sure that it did gather down to the appropriate length that I needed it to be to fit within the waistband. This wound up being just a little too big, so to accommodate that, I just did about 4 additional pleats evenly spaced across the waistband to make it fit where I wanted it to go, which had the added benefit of adding a little additional volume to the top, which I did not mind. Here's something I was thinking about. So she has a sheer skirt over this silver, and it splits in the front just like this, right? I was thinking if I wanted this to be a bit more black, I thought that since this fabric is, I don't know, super freaking wide, and gathered up the bottom as well, because I had a thought that maybe I could add another layer and see how that looked. So I thought this extra layer might add a bit more volume, because so hers technically like juts out at the hips. I didn't really want to deal with constructing that since this is more of a casual cosplay. So I thought this might be kind of like a cheaty way of doing it. And it would make the skirt more solid and add more volume to the actual dress. Okay, so let's kind of, actually let me move this. Let me flare it out a bit. Let's take a look. Okay, so right off the bat, I really like the way it looks around the top. I think that looks gorgeous. Imagine that it'll be flattened down a bit by the waistband. That looks great. The front split. I'm okay with this. If I go with this, I'll stitch this together, bias bind it, and then I have some beautiful pearl trim I think I'm going to add to the front. Question is the back. I also don't want to hem this because I hate working with sheer fabrics and hemming. Although I need to look up what this fabric is. This has been really easy to work with. It's very solid. It doesn't slip around. It's amazing. I actually really like this fabric. But I need to decide if I like the way that this looks. Just leaving the hem as a fold instead. It's not something I've ever done before. It's kind of like a bubble skirt, I guess. Just let it pile on the ground behind me. That feels kind of Ravenna, like the mirror that would pull up into a person. I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm okay with that. Is that typically how you do hems? No. Next steps. I am going to sew up these open side seams. Just a simple stitch all the way down. And then I'm going to bias bind it with 1/4 inch wide double fold bias tape. So I ran a straight stitch through the gathering and stitched both layers of fabric together. And I have also done the 1/4 inch bias tape. There's a little bit of additional thread peeking out, but I'm not too worried because the trim will hide it. So now I'm going to attach it to the waistband. This is also super easy. So I'm just going to open up the waistband completely so that I have the raw edge, and I'm going to line that up to the inside of the skirt. Though in this case, I guess it doesn't really matter which side because it's pretty identical, given that I did not cut a hem into it. So I'm just going to line this up with the straight stitch that I did across the gathers and pin it in place. And once I have it completely pinned on, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch it together. And then the next step after that is to fold the waistband completely over the raw edges, ensuring that the 1/2 inch fold in the waistband is also tucked in under the band so there are no raw edges showing on either the sheer fabric or the waistband itself. Pin this in place and then take it to my sewing machine, stitch it all together. This will complete the construction of my waistband. I did use a pretty flimsy fabric here, just like a standard cotton, but if you want something that won't show as much of the like puckering and bulging of the gathers underneath it, I recommend using something much stiffer, like a cotton twill, or even a canvas or something like that. Okay, so now time for the test. So the way I made this adjustable was actually super easy. I shortened the waistband to just the width of the gathered skirt so that the front open split does not have a waistband, and I took some 1/2 inch bias tape, cut 2 strips about 8 inches long and stitched those into the opening, and now it ties shut. Super easy way of making something adjustable and technically a historically accurate way of putting a skirt on. So I'm not too sad about it. Originally I was going to do snaps across the waistband, but I decided that was too much effort and went with the tie instead. After trying it on, I decided I needed to cut a traditional hem into the fabric. It just looked weird with the straight hem. So I put it on the mannequin and made a cut to determine the length that I wanted it to be, and then put it on the floor, lining up both layers of fabric, which was kind of difficult. I don't recommend doing it this way. If you're going to use more than one skirt, I recommend cutting your hem in before you gather it, but I didn't. But it worked out in the end, so I just cut both pieces together at an angle to give myself that more traditional hem. It shortened up the length of the skirt. It just lays better. I finished this up by stitching the 2 layers of fabric together at the hem, and then used 1/2 inch double fold bias tape to seal up the edges. So then it was time for a final fit and check that I did actually like the new hem. In the end, I did. It fit a lot better, it was appropriate length, and it pulls behind me at a much in a much nicer way. So I'm very happy with this. All in all, it was a pretty quick project to make. It took me about 3 hours total and would have taken less time if I didn't have to recut the hem. So that's it. That's how I did it. I hope you found that a pretty easy walkthrough. And like I said before, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you want. Make sure to like this video if you liked it. And I will see you in my next video.